everyone, welcome to Lynn's Everyday Ideas and my Happy Place process video. That's a picture of our daughter laying on the floor watching TV next to our dresser. She insists on watching TV sideways. I will be using the Felicity Jane Caroline kit. This was from April. April. And this is the sketch 521. That's the date from Citrus Twist. So in just a second, I'm going to put you on fast forward to get this started. I'm going to be using my Caterpillar crop. I finally found a trimmer that I like. I have been through a Fisker's trimmer. I have been through the Stampin' Up trimmer. I didn't mind the Stampin' Up one. I actually liked it, but I was finding I was going through blades probably about once a week. So I don't do that much scrapping. If you watch my layout share videos, it's not like I'm scrapping, 5 or 6 times a day. So what I was showing you there is I'm going to use one of the journaling cards that come with the kit to be in that little place where they have just like this tiny scrap of paper. I don't do Project Life, but I find ways to use the cards. The sketch also called for a border on the left and on the top, so that's what I was trying to work with here. But it just didn't look right to me. Maybe it was because my strips were too big, but I ended up going a different direction with it. I am using the suggested cluster in the upper right hand corner, as well as the tags that they suggest on the right hand side. There's that journaling card that I'm going to use, and you'll see I start playing with the idea of having a strip at the bottom, just to to me it kind of grounded the layout. I mean, we have that cluster in the top right corner, and then I'll ground it at the bottom. You'll see I jumped a little bit there. This is day number 2. Our daughter had gotten up from nap, so I tucked that whole sheet of paper back there just to kind of see how it would look with that black and white on the bottom. That way I didn't have to cut a piece before I kind of knew if I liked it or not. So I ended up using that black and white striped paper because it needed a little more black to match the black and white photo that I'm using, but also I'm going to use that black and white tag up in the right top, and I thought then that tied them in together. The yellow I'm using at the bottom ties in with the holes on the tags. I'm using my best glue ever. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I'm on their design team. But I really do find that glue beneficial. You need so little to get it to really stick. And I have to say that fine writing cap, what's it called? The no clog writing cap for fine lines and no clogs. And it comes in various sizes based on the bottle, not on the tip, but the bottle it fits on is fantastic. It has not clogged yet for me, as it says, and it allows me to just get a tiny little bit of glue where I want it. So here I am sticking down the upper cluster. I do save that piece of black and white tag because I can always cut the corners off and make it look like a tag again. But I was telling you I used the yellow at the bottom to tie in with the yellow hole in that navy blue tag, as well as then be able to pull some yellow into the top right cluster. I originally thought I was going to use a yellow tag, but for whatever reason it looked like too much yellow. I know it's really not a whole lot of yellow, but I ended up going with a piece of the cut-aparts that you get for being a kit member, and I think it was dots. Where's the layout? Next to me. It is. It's yellow dots on a white, the cut apart area is white. So it tied the yellow in, but it didn't make it overwhelming like I thought those two tags did. So I'm looking for little bits and pieces to put up there from both the cut aparts and the die cuts. And what I end up with is a pink tag that says remember that one time. That matches the pink paper that I'm using to back my photo. My photo mats are a ombre pink sheet that was in the kit that month, but the section I had cut off for this was all pink. And then it's a white piece of paper with kind of like little black flecks. And then you'll see me later, I'll mat both of those in another pink paper. It's a deeper, there you go, kind of like a corally pink with lighter pink speckles. See me trying to use my scissors here. I don't do that very often because I'm pretty anal about my lines being straight. But I did manage to get it with my scissors. Those are my Tim Holtz scissors. I think they're 8-inch. It doesn't say on them, but they're the larger pair. I really like how they cut. They have like a razor edge. And they cut through everything I've put them, to task with no issues. Plus them being longer, I get a better opportunity to have a straighter cut. So you see I cut that journaling card apart too. I really do try to stretch my kits. I have gotten 3 layouts so far out of this kit. You'll see my thinking fingers. That's what do I want to do next? What embellishments am I gonna go with? The sketch had embellishments kind of in the upper left and the bottom right, and they were kind of scattered, almost like you would do some packaging technique there or maybe some modeling paste, but I'm not good with messy. I have tried the packaging technique 8 million times and I have thrown it out almost every time. I did ask a question on Inky Quills group the other day. It's Scrapaholics Anonymous, about my gesso, and I'm thinking that maybe I got the Hobby Lobby brand just to try it because I wasn't sure, and I'm thinking maybe it's not good enough quality because when I add watercolor to it or mist, it flakes even with the gesso on it. So you'll see I turned the photo. When I had her laying left to right, it looked to me like she was staring off the page. And not in a good way. Like, I know she's still technically staring off the page in this format, but I don't know, it was way off for me. So I switched her around. At least now it's the same way I took the picture, like looking off my bed down at her on the floor. And the TV is off to my right, her left. But yeah, she prefers to watch it sideways. It's the funniest thing, unless she's laying on your lap, which is her new biggest thing. She has been not feeling so well, so I have spent the last week in my bed just holding her. She had a fever, quite a high fever. Scared us there for a little bit. So you see me start placing some embellishments down. I pick out that flare button that says life, because this is life with kids, right? How many Peppa Pig cartoons or Paw Patrol have you guys all watched? Those of you who have kids or even nieces and nephews. And then I go with what ends up being my title, that rubber piece, My Happy Place. I pull in a little bit more yellow by using the yellow tag that I end up putting the month and year on. It was April. So now I start pulling out the stamps. This is the stamp set for the Caroline kit, and I'm looking at some of my options, but I don't know that I'm loving any of them. So I go to the Willow kit, which was May, and pull those out as well. And I had an idea. They have like a triangle design one. You'll see me pull it out, and I use a scrap piece of paper because I wasn't so certain that that was the one. And I wanted to kind of look at it. That's an arrow. And I knew I wanted it kind of down there, and I wanted to stamp it, the 3 times off from darkest to lightest. But the arrow was too thin, so I ended up trying that triangle, almost tribal pattern, and I couldn't really tell if I liked it with it being just clear. So what I end up doing is gluing my layers down before I do anything, and gluing my flare button down. I want to talk about random, right? It's like thinking about one thing and oops, there goes a chicken, and your brain just totally goes a different direction. So after I get some of these glued down, it was because I pulled it up to change the direction that I needed to re-glue some of that. As I'm thinking, I guess, I start gluing down the things I know I want in place. That's usually what I do if I get stuck on what do I want to do with this, how do I want to do it. I will stick down or move on to something I am 100% certain on. That way my brain doesn't particularly have to think, and it can kind of digest that other piece in the background. And then I'm usually, free to make a decision. If it's really, really bad, I will get up and walk away. I have been known to have a layout on my desk for quite some time. And I'm gluing down the rubber piece, again, using my best glue ever. That was perfect for those. I know on some of the Facebook groups I'm on, people were having trouble getting those to stick, so they were using their Tim Holtz attacher, the tiny attacher, but with this glue I didn't have any problem. And I've actually, for being on the design team, I've actually tried to pull them up, and they're sticking pretty well. So here I am with that scrap piece of paper. I keep a old Longaberger basket garbage can next to my desk, that when I'm working on something and I have a scrap, I throw it in there until I get out my actual cardstock scraps that are sorted by color. So I just pulled out a white piece to mimic the white background and cut it there and laid it there to kind of live with it. And it was just too much. For me, it was too heavy. So I add some staples up at the top to give it a little more texture. And I wonder what I am fiddling with there. Oh, I ran out of staples. So I keep a plethora of Tim Holtz staples on hand. You can see there I have like 4 or 5 boxes. So I never run out. If I'm down, I buy more. Because I actually prefer this for even office work around the house. I mean, obviously, when I was working as an accountant, you couldn't staple big stacks of papers with this, but it works great for stapling that check to the kid's permission slip or whatever for school. So I do use it quite often. So here I am playing again with that stamp, trying to tuck it here and there, because I knew I wanted to bring in a little more black. I had that black on the top, I had the black on the bottom. The flare button was black. So I was saying before I got my words all mixed that I had the black in the flare button, but I wanted to bring it around the rest of the page. So I got out a Heidi Swapp stamp set. I've had this, well, I want to say 3 years. And I used one that says hashtag has my heart. And I stamped it on the scrap piece of paper first because I hadn't used that one to make sure it stamped well. Of course, I set my packaging right down on my StazOn. And then I do these little arrows. There's 4 or 5 of them in a row. And I put them going up on the one sheet of paper and down on the other to where they look like they are pointing at each other. Again, just to bring the black to each section of the layout. The wipes that I'm using there are ink away wipes from Hobby Lobby. And I use that in combination with my best cleaner ever. I use the best cleaner ever after I'm done, but I use the ink away wipes just while I'm crafting so it doesn't get on, just sit on there. So I didn't have any black twine, but I had this, what's it called? American Crafts Premier Ribbon. Doesn't say what it's specifically called, but it's fluffy. So it's not exactly twine, but it works for the tags, and it's cream, so I just colored it with my StazOn ink to match. And I did let it dry, even though, StazOn is pretty sticky and permanent. Since I had a white background, really wanted to make sure I wiped off any extra. And I do end up doing that for the other two on the right-hand side. This one I believe I put at the top, but I do that off camera. So here I'm placing some of my homemade enamel dots. I do have these in my Etsy store if you are interested, but I go through and try to match the colors because I don't want to use up all those rubber hearts because I have only gotten 3 layouts out of this kit so far, so I don't want to use up all the embellishments right away. And I find some that I like, but I have 2 different color sets. And there's the second one. One's more pastel, and one is like a rainbow. It has brights and pastels. It has clears and whites. So I use them in combination with each other. I didn't think I was going to like that pink because it is a little brighter than the rest of the pinks, but it works well. I left it there for a little while before I glued it down, but now that I'm sitting here looking at the layout, it's next to me, I really do like it. Then I'm using some of their puffy stickers so that I know they match exactly. But again, I didn't want to use all of my little triangles or hexagons. Are they hexagons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just to make sure that I had some for future layouts. I'm sure I will have enough, but I wanted to double check. And I'm not sure, it's probably just me, but those banner puffy stickers, I'm not sure what to do with them. They're too small to use as banners, but they obviously need to be tucked somewhere. So what I ended up doing was cutting the banner part off. So now I'm fiddling with a black enamel dot, as I knew if I had the pink that I have in there and the blue, I needed the black as well. So I ended up going with it up in that cluster, just making sure I'm all dry. Again, with a white background, I did not want to risk getting black ink all over. So I ended up having to use my tweezers because I had glued that down and pull it through. I cut this one pretty short. I mean, obviously there it's too long, but I cut it really short. I'll tell you, if I had to do that again, I would have left it a little bit longer like I did with the ones on the right. Using my best glue ever. You'll see I've really started for that to be my go-through. Oh, I pulled out my embelly jelly for placing those enamel dots. I did not want to use my tweezers and risk them popping all over the place. So you'll see, all I have to do is stick it onto the enamel dot, place a drop of glue, and stick it down. And then I use the pointed end just to make sure it's smooshed into the glue, in a real technical term, right? But I don't know if you can tell on camera how tiny of a drop of glue I have to use to get those stuck down. So I'm really happy with the way this layout turned out. You will see I won't put the other twine on till the very end when I show you a completed layout. I figured you saw me color one, you didn't need to sit through me coloring two more. But I wanted to ask you a few questions before I left. Do you like my new camera setup? I got a setup where it is directly over my head. It's a little bit easier to see now instead of from the side. Oh, I'm obviously doing something on the computer. I wonder what that is. Oh, I know what that was. I'm looking for the date of when the photo was done so I can put that on that yellow tag. I like having my computer right next to me for that purpose. I'm using my slick writer because these die cuts do have a coating on them. The cut-aparts obviously don't because you print them on cardstock, but these do, and I did smudge the last one I used. Now I'm using my Sharpie fine point pen on the tag at the top since that was a cut-apart. I prefer that over the slick writer because my fine slick writer dried out really, really quick, so now I have the medium and the bold. I do like a finer point. So now I'm deciding on color shine. I go with the black because the tinsel was too gray. So anybody catch my quick Inky Quill reference there with my hands? If you don't know who Inky Quill is, I'll put a link to her channel in the description bar. She's got several channels, but I'll link to her main one. So the second question I wanted to ask you guys before I signed off was on the sound. I got a new microphone versus using just my computer sound, and it's much clearer and louder for me, so I wanted to know how it was for you guys. Before I sign off, I also want to say thank you for watching. Please, hit the like button so I know to do more of these, and make sure to subscribe. In the description box, I will put where I bought these supplies and my other information. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.